Welcome to another episode of the Bringing Noise podcast. And today, I've got a man that I can't shake off. You know, let me tell you a bit of background to I met this guy. At a hate speech campaign at a rally. When was that?
1st April.
1st of April. What a date. 1st of April, all the days, April Fools and the hate speech bill. And then I went there and got asked to speak at it. I seen you. And then the big man asked for a selfie. And after that, I couldn't get rid of him. But today I've got, well, is this a joint thing?
I don't know.
You put it in your channel?
Probably not. I don't like you.
No. Right. Well, anyway, today I've got Craig Houston. And mate, we've been pretty active since we've kind of met up.
Mm-hmm.
But let's dive into Craig Houston. Get a bit of background, big man. Let's go.
Crack on. What do you want to know?
Well, what happened? Like you've done things with Rangers, so let's touch on that briefly.
Yeah.
10 years ago?
2013 to 2015, that sort of lasted. Yeah, I'm a Rangers fan, don't hide that. And Rangers had some dubious owners at the time, and me and a wee pal of mine were thinking, don't like them, there's something no right about them. We unearthed some information, and what we thought was, if we don't tell everybody what we think and what we can prove they're doing wrong, and it goes tits up again and we get into admin again, then we'll never feel guilty that we never told anybody. So we started a thing that we thought would be a couple of weeks long, and then that'd be it. So we got this information printed. We decided to go up to Ibrox and start getting out leaflets with information we knew, and we thought once we do that, that'll be us. If it goes Pete Tong, we've told people, and we don't need to feel guilty. And that was kind of what it was meant to be. And it just turned into this whole fan movement called Sons of Struth, and it was just nuts. And by default, I ended up the sort of figurehead of this movement to try and remove these guys for the board of Rangers. During that process, got arrested 4 times but never charged. My life threatened. But the police came and gave me an Osmond warning, which means they've got evidence that you're genuine risk to life. I had people turning up my house in vans. I had ashes at my back door. I get sued for £200,000, but that ended up not happening. But that was a bit scary. See the day you open up the letter saying you're getting sued for £200,000. First thing you think of is that's a lot of zeros, and the second thing you think of is I probably should change my pants at this moment. It was quite that was probably worse than the Osmond warning. And then that was ultimately successful. Rangers got new board of directors, and I kind of thought that was my what do you call it, activist stroke campaigning days were over.
$200,000, like what did you say?
I said anything. That was irony.
But was it just a threat?
No, it was. I got served papers for the court of session, a summons for the court of session. It was basically they were trying to quiet me down, which, funnily enough, I'm getting that again now. And it was actually, when you read into it, I'd put a post in Facebook. Facebook was my biggest platform at the time, and the comments came in, and somebody said something about a director that it was an allegation, but it was like the guy. To be fair, the guy done a bit of bird for tax evasion back in the day, and it was referring to that, and that was kind of when you dialed down, that's what I was getting sued for. But it wasn't in that set. I wasn't that stupid. I mean, listen, I'll say stuff sometimes, and if I get it wrong, I'll admit, I've done something wrong. I've said something wrong in a video. But when it wasn't you, it was like pretty crazy. So the reaction was, we got it in the front page of the paper, and the reaction was crazy with the Rangers fans at the next home game. I think we lined it up to go in the paper on the Friday, and there was a home game on the Saturday, and it caused a bit of stink, and the director decided to renege on the idea of suing me. So suddenly realised it was probably a bad idea.
How long did that campaigning last for?
About 3 years.
3 years? 3 years of your life that you regret, or?
I kind of... Listen, there's positives that came out. There's certainly a lot of positives, and a lot of people benefited from it more than I'd ever would. And some of them went on to be probably not my favourite people. So that always leaves a bad taste in my mouth. That when I was doing what I was doing, and I was the guy that was taking the blows. And in hindsight, you realise that some people were standing not beside you, but a wee touch behind you. And even to this day, some of them have benefited from my hardships, and I don't like them anymore. So I don't like that. Rangers got rid of their old directors. That was a benefit. And that time, I didn't have a pot to piss in. I was homeless through times there. I lost contact with my children through some of my actions. So it wasn't all. It wasn't easy, and I had been to some dark places, at some dark times, and I don't know. As somebody said to me once, if you had to do it again, if you could relive that 3 years, would you have done it again? And I don't think I would have changed it, which is bonkers, because I paid a lot of price for that 3 years of action, and I always thought that I would get back to being Craig Houston whenever we got the result, because what I done was.
Do you feel like you won, Craig Houston?
Oh, 100%. Craig Houston couldn't have coped with that. See all that stuff that I've told you that I went through? Craig Houston was diagnosed as clinically depressed a couple of years before that. So Craig Houston couldn't have coped with that, right? So what happened was, I put a mask on and I became the Sons of Struth guy. And I'll tell you a bonkers story that kind of highlighted to me how good I became at being an actor. I term it as schizophrenic by design, right? So what I would do, I had a cleaning company at the time, and we were out on a job in Paisley, and I got a phone call, and it was STV or Sky or BBC, whatever one, because they were always phoning. Could you come up and do an interview? Some story had broke that morning, and could you come up and do an interview outside Ibrox at the roundabout? Get a piece to camera. I was like, what time? 2 o'clock, whatever. So that's fine. So I was staying in Houston at the time, so I nicked back to Houston, got a wee bit of a wash, put on some clean clothes, took my dirty clothes with me, went out to Ibrox, filmed a piece to camera, went back to Paisley, put up my combat trousers and whatever again, and then went home. And I was sitting at 6 o'clock when the news comes on. And I was in a relationship with a girl in Houston at the time. She's come through with a tray with a dinner. And you know the way it started the news, you get like a wee 10-second clip of the 4 stories, and whatever one's first is the one that you're going to see first, right? So I'm on the telly and the volume's down, and it shows you this wee clip of me standing outside Ibrox. So I know that's going to be the first story on. So I said to her, going to give me the remote control, because I want to hear what the Sons of Struth guy's saying. Right? And I thought that was normal, right? And I saw her face and I thought, what's she looking at me like that for? And she was like, you're the Sons of Struth guy? And I was like, so am. So at the start of the campaign, what I was able to do, see when I was going and doing these things, I'd put a mask on, obviously, not a real one. At one point I did have a rap mask on right enough, which was for comic value at one of the protests. But I put on this mask, and what I would do is I'd go and do the piece, or I'd go to the protest, or do whatever, then I'd take the mask off and be Craig again. But as the temperature started rising and all the nonsense started, I couldn't get the mask off, and I became the character. And I always thought, see, the minute we get rid of them, it'll be dead easy for me. I'll take the mask off, and I'd lost the company, didn't go anymore, and I'd missed loads of time with my kids and stuff. So I thought it'll be dead easy. And for 20, 30 years, I was in sales, and the longest I was in any industry was the motor trade. I always thought, see, when this is over, I'm just going to become normal again, and I'm just going to become the guy that was a sales manager or the sales trainer or whatever in the motor trade, and that's kind of what I thought would happen. It didn't quite turn out that way. I'll tell you about that as well if you want. But when the day came that we get rid of the board, I thought, mask off. And I couldn't. I'd became that guy. And now we're 10 years later. I'd love to tell you I took the mask off entirely again. And this is Craig, but this is probably now a sort of mixture of me and the guy.
See, this is the thing, because we know how much the mainstream media are going to tarnish us, right? So we don't. You've said that schizophrenia by design. You're no schizophrenic.
No, I kind of was, because I was two characters.
But this is the thing, right? I've heard this before. I heard this years ago, right? Now, I'd done something in the past, and I was like, I get that now, right? So see what you're talking about. You know Katie Price?
No, never heard her.
Right, okay. Aye. No, I mean, number one fan, right? So there you go, right? So she said in an interview once, right? And I remember it was years and years ago, and she turned round and went, there's two people, right? And I was like, what's she talking? She's half her head, right? And she went, there's Jordan, and then there's Katie Price. And she went, so when you see me on the magazines and all that, I'm Jordan. Yeah. But when you see me
with the veins,
I'm Katie Price. And then I was like, and I never got that, but I then one time something that I went like, do you know what, I actually understand that. Like, who's not to say that I'm, you know what, I'm and then them get bring the noise. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's a totally different, when you're getting a microphone,
Well,
you get adrenaline and that.
Do you know, I was talking to Connor and Stevie about this. This is two guys that don't know, they're starting doing protests and stuff, and, you know, getting up there and putting a mic in front of them. And it's no normal.
No.
Right? See, it's no normal sitting in your house even 3 times a day with a camera talking for 10 minutes about nonsense, right? Which I do regularly. And it's no normal getting up on a stage to talk about stuff. We're no pop stars, we're no entertainers. And I watched a thing, funnily enough, with Jim Davison the other day. And Jim Davison's been a comedian for 50 odd years, maybe 60 years. And he still says you get that when you're about to go on stage. You're like, shit, I hope this goes all right. And sometimes it's difficult to take that step. And you think, well, how can he... Now, if he finds that hard, a guy that's been going on stages for, I think he's 70 now and he's been doing it since he was 20, for 50 years, how are you and I meant to deal with it, right? So, being nervous and stuff, so you kind of... It's not normal. So you kind of need to become somebody that you're not to actually get up and do it. So I think we all probably have to be.
Some people would say that that's an ego now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, there's no ego here when you're speaking the truth. You know what I mean?
Is it an ego?
See, I don't think it's a bad ego. Everybody thinks it's got an ego, but it's no.
There's certain traits to do what you do and do what I do and get in front of hundreds, sometimes thousands of people that you don't know and just grab a mic and try and get their attention. You probably do need a bit of an ego to do that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I enjoy it. I don't mind it. Right?
We'd rather would not be doing this, Craig, to be honest.
I'd rather the world was perfect and you know, we could do other things. But is it an ego? I don't know. But we probably still do it now where, you know, that 2-3 minutes before you're going on and you know your turd's coming up and you know you're speaking after that guy and you start getting the stomach going and you think, hope I don't make an arse of this one. Hope I pull it off. I hope they react at the points where I think they're going to react. I'm probably putting a mask on at that point and just, you know, getting yourself G'd up to get the adrenaline going and just go and do it. So it's but at that time, because it was so intense through the Sons of Struth stuff, I ended up, I had the mask on all the time. And that day when I was like, I just want to see what the Sons of Struth guy's saying in the telly. How mental's that? I'm talking about me. It's me, it's in the telly. And she's like, that's you. I was like, fuck's what it is. That's how good I was at being me, to being him, to being me again. But as time went on and the business shut and all that and it became 24/7, I didn't get the mask off. And it took, and as I say, I always had this thing that as soon as the job's done, the mask will be off and I'll be Craig again. And I've never became Craig again. I kind of probably a hybrid now. I don't flip anymore. Do you know what I mean? But I'm probably became a hybrid of these two characters.
So obviously you've done that. I mean, I'd love to talk to you about more than that, but we've not got time, right? And then you said you went into the trade with the car trade and that. You went back to something there and you said that...
I always thought... I was in the motor trade for years, right? And I thought I would go back to that. And when it was done, as I say, a few people, some of them don't here anymore, that I could thank, but a few people really helped me. I'm talking about less than 5 people in the world, right? And if it wasn't for them, I might not have got through it. And some of them were supporting me financially, and I'm not talking about paying me thousands of pounds, I'm talking about 100 quid here and there, right? And I always thought, I'll just go back, I'll just kind of get a job in the motor trade, whether it's a salesman or a sales manager. I love being a sales trainer. That was a career that I didn't think about, and I ended up doing, and I really liked that, so I thought I'll do that. Now, my previous time in the motor trade, I was in London working I was a sales director for a cleaning company at the time, and I needed to get home, right? My marriage was on the rocks, and it wasn't healthy, me working away. So I needed to get home. And I phoned a guy that I'd worked for moons before. And before the week was out, he'd got me a job. I was in Edinburgh, sales manager, great gig, made a big difference, paid me a pot of money, right? It was great. So that's this guy. He gave me this job at a decent level in a phone call 10 years previous. So I thought, I'll go and see him. He quite likes me. And he's gave me jobs before. And I walked in to see him. I'm not going to mention where he works then. I like the guy, and I'm not. It's reality I'm talking about. No, he was just involved in it. And I walked into the place he was working in now, and how you doing, Hoosty? What's mate? He says he wasn't into football. right? But he's like, I started following you. The boys I was talking about you one day years ago and said, wonder what's happening to Houston. They're like, he's never off the telly, right? And he was like, what are you talking about? He says, so I started following your stories. Like, wow, it was amazing, right? He's like, anyway, what you in for the day? You in to buy a car? Have you brought somebody in? And I was like, no, I'm needing a job. And his face dropped. And I went, what? He went, Houston, do you want me to talk shite or do you want me to just be honest with you? I was like, honest with me, what? He went, we're in Glasgow. You're that Rangers guy. He went, and even if I give you a job as a manager, I know you never sit in your ass, you're out talking to all the punters. He's like, and you're that Rangers guy now. And I was like, all right. Well, if I'm getting that off a guy that I know and respect, then I was like, that ain't happening anymore. So, and I struggled. I couldn't get a job. And I don't even know why I'm telling you about that. How did we get there?
We got there just because we were talking about it. You've told me that story before. I've heard about it. But, I mean, do you feel...
That changed my life. That's probably how I can be.
Do you regret that?
I don't know. I kind of sometimes think about it. There's not much in my life that I would say I regret. It was tough. There was some real negatives at that time. But there was some positives as well. And a lot more people got the positives than me, right? And I ended up with some experiences. I remember there's a guy Dave King, who was one of the guys that helped save the club, buying more shares. He's a millionaire, he was for Castle Milk, lives in South Africa now. And so they've taken power, right? And a load of people were like busting the front door in to get jobs and all that at Ibrox, right? And I just loved that. That wasn't but I done it for. But 6-9 months after it, when I still couldn't get a job, and I've watched all these people that done a tenth of what I'd done, all getting jobs and opportunities. And I was like, Dave, I went, I can't remember why he was needing to talk to me about something. But anyway, he says, how's things? And I says, shite, if I'm honest with you. How? And I told him kind of the story that I thought I would just go and get a job. And he went, I didn't know any of this, Craig. I went, well, no, I kind of didn't tell people while I was protesting that I was sleeping in a car sometimes, or sleeping in sofas sometimes. That's my personal life. So I didn't share that with anybody. He went, I didn't know all this. I says, I'm trying to make things better. And I'm a wee bit better than you, a wee bit of coin coming in through whatever. I says, but I'm on my arse. I says, and there's folk in there getting jobs. I went, so hold on a minute. And he got me a job part-time, it was initially, on a consultancy basis, just as and when required, getting DV projects, and it was fine. And then that led to, after about 3-6 months of that, a full-time job came up, and that led to mad things, like I went to Russia, to Moscow with the Rangers youth team and all that, and it just mad stuff. So I had some great experiences that I wouldn't have had. I met Walter Smith, I met all my heroes, I met Richard Gough, I've got a phone book that would choke a horse, and Alan McCoy when he walked past me in the street. Now, that was all nice stuff. So it wasn't all bad. Do you know what I mean? But
you still got the passion for the football, but
no.
Why?
I still support Rangers.
Why not? Why have you not got the passion anymore?
Because I now understand that football's just a business, and it doesn't matter. See if you're a good guy or a bad guy. Even the good guys, it's just a business.
See, that's the thing, right? I'm a Celtic fan, as
you know.
Are you,
John? I'd never have known.
Right.
You see that monobrow right across the top.
So obviously, I mean, that's the thing. Like the two, like I've been saying it forever, for a long time. Unity is what's needed right now, and I don't have the passion for football anymore. I have said that, I can speak about.
I'm still a Rangers fan. Still a Rangers to win. I've still got passion for it, but is it the same levels I was when I was putting my life in the ring? No, it's not. Because it wasn't because of that 3-year period that put a wee bit of water in my passion. It was the next bit in my life when I was out there getting death threats, sued, arrested, all these things for the greater good, thinking I was doing a good thing, which when everybody did, we get rid of a shower of cranks. I was nearly said a word there that I'd probably get arrested for. We call them cranks, right? Another word that starts CR. And where was I going now? Right, so you get rid of them, and then you get the good guys in. And the good guys, they weren't all good guys. They were probably half and half good guys. And they forget their own arse at times. Just why they've got a bit more coin than the average fan. And you go, and do you know what? It's actually, some people say, they treat us as customers. And I say, no, they don't. Businesses that are good businesses treat their customers better than you treat fans. Because, and it was Dave King that told me this one day, and I went, that makes perfect sense. He said, see if you shop at Asda, and you fall out with Asda, Well, you can go to shop at Tesco's. But see, if you're a Rangers fan and you fall out with Rangers, you're not going to Celtic or Dundee United, right? So it's a captive audience. And it's kind of take it or leave it. And some of the things I've seen, even for the inside, you're like, oh, this isn't... I wasn't comfortable. And I didn't know what to do. I'd worked here for about 3 or 4 months and I started seeing things that I wasn't happy with. And I thought, well, what do I do? And I thought, well, I can't ignore these things that I think are wrong by shutting up and taking the coin. So I started making my feelings known when things were wrong for the inside. And inevitably it cost me my job. Because as soon as COVID hit, I was one of the first to get put in furlough. And then by the time we were coming out of it, me and a few others were parked before the fans were back.
See, when you were talking about like Rangers being a business, do you know, that's when I realised that Celtic's is the same, just a business.
They're all the same, mate. It doesn't matter what club. Unless you're a juniors club and it's all volunteers, it's a business.
See, this is the thing, right? I've got a real gripe with this, right? And this is what annoyed me. Being a Celtic fan, what's the biggest bragging rights in Scottish football? 10 in a row.
And he's failed.
Right. But again, right, so see the day that you's died, right? See the day that went under.
So
right?
see if we died, who stopped 10 in a row? You're
anyway, right. So we could have a podcast
10 years after you died.
But this is what I'm saying. It wasn't the Rangers that won it. It wasn't. It was Celtic. It was Celtic that ruined it. It was Celtic that ruined it. Then I'll tell you why. You see the day that happened, that you went into liquidation and all that, right? I'm sitting there. I was working in Bristol at the time, and I turned into my mate, right? And I went like that to him. I went, hold on a minute here. I says, we're in like 4 in a row right now, right? I says, see by the time they come back up, it's going to be 7 in a row.
Oh,
but even at that, right? Even at that, you've
got all the money for.
But then you had an extra year because you couldn't even get up that. So it was 4 years, right?
Can I tell you a funny story?
Right, no, hold on, let me finish. Right?
Let me tell you a funny story.
So then what happened was, I'm sitting there going, right, well, think about it. Look at all the money we're going to accumulate. Then we're going to get into Champions League. Then we're getting into domestic trophy. And then we've all the money we've got. We've got rid of Tierney, Wanyama, Van Dijk, all this money. And I'm sitting, see by the time 9 in a row comes, see the year 10 for the 10, it says they're going to have hundreds of millions in the bank. What we're going to do, we're going to have best manager, right? And then everybody fell out with Rodgers.
Sat in a podcast.
Right. No, but this is what I'm saying. Right, this is my own. Right, this is when I realised it was a business. And this, I was so disheartened. And then when they get rid of Rodgers, and then Lennon came in, right, and I was like, right, Lennon can do. And then I started to see Lennon wasn't getting the results, and you started drawing and losing, and we started drawing, right. We should have won that league a lot quicker, right. Anyway, so listen, look at the state of this, right. So the year the 10 in a row, it was the worst year ever in my life that I've seen. Right, it was like so. I had a big tick list of how shit, and I was like, it was like the amount of money we've got. How the hell have we not got the best players in that field? And that's, but anyway, but that's when I realised it was just a business, and they didn't care about the fans.
I told you the cracking story to tell you.
I probably got a lot of hate for them. I don't care.
Do you know I said a cracking story to tell you? I forgot what it was. What was it?
I don't know.
What were we talking about? And I went, I've got a cracking story, and you want to go on about Lennon and nonsense.
I don't know. It's your story. I can't tell you.
No, but you've blown my thought. Anyway, ask me something.
Anyway, right. So you've done all that, right? The funny thing is, I'll go back to me and you'll just Billy Connolly in it. We go for that there. Anyway, so wait, you done that, and then you were just doing regular jobs and that. You say.
I worked for Rangers. I eventually got a job with Rangers, and then COVID hit.
So when did you start your YouTube channel? What was the reason behind that?
Well, the reason was simple. I just fancied it, right? And
that ego again, aye.
I had a phone book that had 2,500 contacts, and before we started the protesting, it was probably about 300 or 400 like normal people, and the majority of it was all Rangers connected stuff. So I started the podcast where I was interviewing Rangers people. And I had, the first one was an ex-Rangers chairman, the next one was an ex-Rangers player, then I'd done an ex-Rangers football hooligan, and then I would have like Rangers historians. I had a couple of journalists that were Rangers minded. It was all Rangers stuff.
Must have been shite.
Well, you'd love it. And I got, one of the best things was, there was a guy called David Holmes who was actually there before Murray. People think that David Murray started the Rangers revolution in the 80s. He didn't. It was David Holmes was put in as for Lawrence Marlborough, who was a major shareholder at the time. And he just changed my life as a Rangers fan, because I'd been going to watch Rangers and seen us struggle to qualify for Europe and not win anything, to suddenly Souness and Butcher and Woods and all that came. And that man changed my life as a Rangers fan. And nobody had heard from him for like ages. And I just thought that one day, I'd like to get David Holmes on, right? And it was just like a daft idea that I thought will never happen. And I just started reaching out, and who knows it? I thought, we've not got a clue even where he lives. Anyway, it turned out David Holmes was writing a book. So I got to talk to the guy that was writing the book for him, and not only did I get to interview him, which was just like, and folk go at, but you've interviewed all these other people, and you know all these people, and this and your pal, and whatever. And but it was just like the biggest one I've ever done. And then when he'd done his book launch, he wanted to do a Q&A with the fans, and I'd done one at the what do you call it, hotel across from BBC, the Village, with a night in there, and I'd done a live with him, and it was just that was just fantastic. That's how it started. What was that story? That's a cracking story to tell you, and it was about John Brown. It was in my head.
Don't believe you.
Don't believe me. Oh, aye.
See what? You've only got an hour.
Aye,
Jesus,
well,
we've not even got into the good bit yet.
Right. This is a good bit, believe me. It's all downhill for here. So, there's a duo, and right, see during all that protesting years, right?
You better have a lot more memory on these things.
My social life was great, right? Because there's always Rangers events on, right? And I was getting invited every weekend. I could have been at something, right? It was good fun. And there was a big deal at what's the hotel at the SEC, the posh one, the Moat House.
Moat House, aye.
There was a do in there, Rangers Supporters Trust were having, and I was invited as a guest to that. And I'm going to that, and John Brown phones me up one day, and he goes, Biggin, I said, John, I'm sure it was Bola. He said, what are you doing next Saturday? And I was like, I'm going to the Rangers Supporters Trust thing. The biggest Rangers supporters club in the world is up Northley, right? It's the Lewis and Harris Supporters Club, Northley. And they come to Glasgow once a year, and they have a whole weekend down here, and they could do a player of the year and that. So it was that year we failed to get promoted when Motherwell beat us in the playoff. Right, so I'm sure it was John Brown. It might have been the guy that owned the Loudon, because that's what he do was. He's like, what are you doing Saturday? I says, I'm going to the Rangers Supporters Trust. He's like, well, can you come out to the Loudon for an hour? I was like, why? And he went, well, the biggest Rangers supporters club in the world is Lewis and Harris. And this was the year where we failed to get promoted, and they're having their Player of the Year award. It'd be nice for you to come in, show face, and say thanks for helping with the protests and stuff. Because I went, aye, I'll do that. So I'd went with Gillian, the rest do, and I'm away for an hour, right? Jumped in a taxi, went out to Loudon, walks into the Loudon, and on stage is Charlie Miller doing a Q&A. So I walked in, stood at the door, looked across, Charlie's clocked me, said something sarcastic to me, and the boy at the door, I said, as long as he got, and he went, about 10 minutes. So I was smoking at the time, so I nicked out to get a fag. So I'm having a fag, and this wee guy came out for the wee Kev, turns out, going home, didn't know him at the time, and he came out and introduced himself. He's like, I'm Kev for Lewis and Harris Supporters Club. I think he was a secretary or something. He was an office bearer. I said, how are you doing? He's like, listen, thanks very much for coming over. I appreciate you at another do tonight, and appreciate it. That's great. I'm really, really thankful for that. I was like, no bother. I says, listen, what is it you want me to do when I'm here? Do you want me to go up and talk, or do you want to go up and ask me a couple of questions or do you want me just to go up and say thanks for helping with the protests and stuff? And he's like, do you know why you're here? I was like, well, I was kind of told to come here and say thanks for for your guys that have been doing at games and keep me protests and stuff. He's like, no, that's not why you're here. I was like, well, why am I? I'm thinking, I've left a drink in another place, right? And I'm like, I've left Gillian herself, and I'm like, well, why am I here? He's like, well, we decided, right? He says, see, 2 months before they could come down here, we have a committee set up to discuss the Player of the Year. And we were struggling to find one because they've all been shite. And we actually went, the fans done more than the players. So I was the Player of the Year for the Lewis and Harris Rangers Supporters Club that year that you were slagging us about. Mm-hmm. So there you go. I've been the Player of the Year of the biggest Rangers Supporters Club, and I've never kicked a ball for the Rangers.
See that time when that happened? When you went
was that
down?
not a good story? No?
That was brilliant. Well done, big man. It was brilliant. I mean, I can't hear the audience if they're clapping in their house, fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Anyway, see that year that you went down, right, and all that, and God rest her soul, and it was boring. See, as a Celtic fan, for me it was. I said that. I was like, I remember sitting there watching a game, right, And I was like, my mate, I'm bored. And I went, what do you mean? I went, every week we're scalping teams 4-5-0.
Alan McCoy said it at one time in an interview. He said, people put us down, and some people were happy with that, and others weren't. They wanted a kick while we were down. And it was kind of bonkers, right? Because if you take Rangers and Celtic, or Rangers or Celtic out of the equation, we've not really got a marketable product. And some people were, it wasn't even enough that we could put down 4 divisions. So that kind of the journey was a story in itself. And
I mean, the journey for you would have been exciting, but for me, the Celtic
at some point, it was funny. See, going to gruns like Forfar and Alloa and all that. It was bonkers, right? It was just we were just taking over towns, right? It was just mad. And I remember the first game. I think the first game at Ibrox in the 4th tier. I can't remember who we played. Sellout, right? It was just nuts. And it was good fun to start with, and it honestly, see, we're at sort of 3rd or 4th year, it was starting
like
to get.
I said, I remember the year we met in the final. One of the you won it. You think you won it? No, hold on. It was a year that I won it in penalties, and it was the first. It was the first Rangers Celtic game for years. And I was like,
that's mad, isn't it? I could tell you dates and games and all that before that, but see now, other than getting to Seville. That was nuts, right? I was
nuts for us, I know.
Aye, and I was like, I can't believe I managed to see my team twice in European finals in my life, and that one we did have a chance of winning it. And I spent that whole trip. I was out there for 4 days, and I just spent the whole trip going. We were in the 4th tier in 2012-13, and we're now in a European final. So it was kind of great, and
I said, but I said that to one of my mates. I says, this is just boring now. And then he was
turning
like,
into a football podcast.
No, but I'm going to get into a good bit, right? Yeah. But he was like, this is no competition. He's like, if you're heating on it. And I went, let them. And I was like, this is just fucking. I want to watch I want to watch good football as well. And anyway, but I mean, I always kind of hang on to that because
you got any questions for me?
Aye, fucking hell, God's sake! It's as if I'm not allowed to talk anyway.
See, I tell you what.
But when we go to Seville, I always hang on to that. I know that was the UEFA Cup. That was brilliant, I know. But anyway, look, we could talk football and we can't stop yawning, you know what I mean? Anyway.
You've not got questions down there for me, have you? Oh, stop it, man.
No, we'll go off things and all that. Anyway.
Oh, God.
Right, so you done a wee podcast, like you've been doing it on Rangers, which must have been awful. But anyway.